What's going on, everybody? Back with another video. Welcome back to the channel. Decided to pick up the Wolfbox G900 TriPro dash camera. This is a 3-camera setup, hence the name TriPro. So it's a 4K front camera, 2.5K rear, and then in my case I went with the bumper version, meaning there's an additional camera for the front bumper or trail cam, however you want to look at that, but that's 1080p. You can, instead of do that, you could opt for the cabin version. So that would substitute that third version to a camera in the cabin. But for me, I decided to go for the bumper version just to get a little bit better trail footage, seeing obstacles that you can't normally see from the driver's seat at that vantage point. So yeah, that's what I decided to go with, and here it is. So I did decide to go with the OEM Jeep bracket and mount, just to keep things a little bit cleaner from the installation look of things. And then now these are all shipping with a direct hardwire kit. I believe you had to purchase these in addition previously, but to my understanding, you purchased the G900. It comes with it automatically now. So excited to get this thing put in. Not really 100% decided on what I want to do for my mounting location for the rear, but we will figure that out. I know a lot of people, specifically with trucks or Gladiators, like in this case, with overland setups and bed racks and campers and bed caps and stuff of that nature, they're pretty much the rear view is gone. You have absolutely no vision out the back. So for them, this is for people with that setup, this is a game changer. That's not necessarily why I went with it, but because of course I don't have a bed rack or anything like that. So I'm kind of undecided on what I want to do with the rear mounting location. I might just either do like the tail hitch or maybe even just keep it simple and do the license plate bracket, which this comes with as well, to my understanding. So anyway, we'll figure all that out. This isn't going to be a full install video. There's tons of those out there. It's just going to be a quick kind of an overview video, and then I will show you my mounting choice locations, and then not necessarily how I ran the wires, but where I ran the wires, and go from there. I don't want to bore you guys with all that. So I've already did a little bit of the prep work. Took out my passenger side grab handle insert for the front dash speaker there, glove box, and things of that nature, just to make things a little bit easier for the install. But yeah, excited to get this thing put in, and we'll get back once it's installed. All right, take a look at the front camera mounting location. So I have the stock steel bumper, the OEM steel bumper 3-piece. It has these screws here. There's 3. I took off the middle one, as you can see. I just basically unscrewed it. It's got double-sided tape, which sticks very well. And being that this is a pretty good center location, I went on and chose right here. I feel like it's got a pretty good view of everything. Was gonna maybe try to look into the grill, but I couldn't really figure out a way to do that without modifying the grill, and I didn't want to do that. And then I have seen other people put it on top of the winch box here, which I would have done. It would have been perfect, but I have this low mounting bull bar here, so I definitely would have got in the way with that. So I just chose right up here up front, and seems to work fine. Just ran the cabling right underneath behind it. I have that zip tie to the other screw, and even these as well right along here. And then at that point it connects to the actual cable, which I ran the length for. Followed it along my winch line, winch cables up underneath the back of the grill, and then along the side of the hood here. Remove the cowl panel, and then at that point it goes in. There's like a kind of a foam insulated section that's really tight, and I just worked it through there and up and underneath the windshield here, and then at that point it goes inside. So that's the route, I guess, for the front camera I chose. And then for the rear, I did decide to go with the license plate bracket. It's tucked behind there, and it just sits right above it, and it does clear the tailgate. So if I was to lower the tailgate, it does not interfere with it. It actually just sits right above it, but it's got a pretty straight view. I was maybe gonna mount it underneath here at the top of the hitch mount, but I don't know.
I feel like a little bit of this, my hitch slider there, get in the bottom part of the view. And then same thing up top, the bottom of the bumper kind of would obstruct a little bit of the view, and I wanted a full range. So it does kind of stick out right there, but it's not in the way because it's still within this bumper area. So it's not really gonna hit anything unless it was intentionally done. But main thing is that it clears the tailgate. So we're good on that aspect. But went up behind the bumper, up along underneath the bed. Followed the route of my rock lights that I have underneath. So I followed underneath the bed, all the way underneath into the frame. And then once it gets to about the quarter panel here, I ran up and then met up the same place where I did the front camera, and then ran that inside the same way. So those are the only two cables that come from the outside in. The rest of the cables, even the hardwire connection to the actual Wolfbox, is on the inside. I know a lot of people use the fuse box to actually hook the connections to the Wolfbox. I did not do that route. Shout outs to Wild Hobo 4x4. He kind of put me on to a little trick as far as you know, having the auxiliary group. There's actually connections inside the cab, which I'll show you here. I was unaware of this. I do have the auxiliary group, as I said, so as you can see. Now, the main connections for those are obviously underneath the hood. And as I said, I have rock lights. I have those hooked to them already. And I have my pod lights already hooked to the auxiliary group. But the main connection is underneath the hood. However, if you have the auxiliary group, there's additional cab side connections that are underneath the glove box area. See if I can get underneath there. Right in there. And then with those, you have a direct line to the battery and the ignition, which is what you need, even if you were going to go the route of going to the fuse box. So I hooked directly to those right in there, and I just kind of, I mean, I just use spade connectors. I taped over them. Not that it's going to get any kind of like wet in here or anything, but just to protect them. But and then that yellow and red line is the main two lines that go to the power of the Wolfbox. The yellow is the main line, which you would think it would be the other way around, and the red is to the ignition. So you need to hook to those, but I just did that, kept it clean, and ran it from the inside. So those two wires are the ones that come from the inside. I had the two, as I mentioned, on the outside, which is the rear and the front camera, and then they just both met along here. And then I kind of ran right up into there, up underneath the grab handle right here. I had to take that out, and then just pop that along the top of the panel for the headliner there. And then, of course, I went with the OEM mount. It was kind of pain getting to that, you know, behind the panel and then getting it hooked up there. I do not have the adaptive cruise control set up, so it's a little bit bulkier when you have that, but nonetheless, this was still a little bit kind of tricky to get to and keep everything together as far as the cables, but it does look a lot cleaner. So other than that, you have the GPS sensor, which I put right here, so that stayed also inside the cab, and then just ran that up behind the speaker panel here, up, and then the same route that I took for everything else. So yeah, that's pretty much it. All right, so there is all three views. Of course, the front main, I'll kind of get in close there. There's the bumper or trail cam, a little bit lower, as you can see, so you don't have the hood in there. And then the rear, and as you can see, that's my garage, but it's upside down, so I have to flip that, but it's not a problem. So that's all three views. You can swipe, there's the rear again. So again, that's upside down. I'll flip that here in a minute. Again, the trail camera or extra camera, and then the main one, and you can slide up and down. I believe on, I don't know if it's all of them, but I think you can zoom in on these as well too. But there's the trail camera up and down. Get down pretty low. So yeah, bunch of settings in here. Voice activated, Wi-Fi, all that.
can change the what you see on your display if you want to take the time off. I actually had the GPS there. I've already taken that off. Turn on Wi-Fi. There we go. And then you just connect that obviously through your phone. Turn off Wi-Fi. Alright, it's back to my views. So yeah, here you can lock specific footage to my understanding. So if you got something that you did not want it to delete off of the loop system, you just hit that. And you can select multiple ones, of course, between each camera. And yeah, just a bunch of little features here. I won't bore you with everything, but tons of features in here. There's your G sensor. You can set the sensitivity of that. Fatigue reminder. You can turn the sound all the way off where it's not recording any kind of sound on any of the cameras. Volume, screen saver, resolution, all that. There's your GPS display and stamps. So the display is different than the stamp. The stamp is what actually shows up on a video, so you can, you know, change whether you want to see the speed on your video. Same thing with the GPS and your date. I'll probably leave all that on for the actual video, but I didn't want GPS displayed on the actual screen. Just wanted it, you know, as clean as I can. I am gonna get the time and date up there though. But yeah, that's pretty much it. But install wasn't terrible. Just tedious running the wires. I'm not the best at running wiring, and I'll admit that. I don't enjoy it, but like I said, having the connections on the cab for me made it a little bit easier. It's kind of hard to get to, but still the connections were easier versus messing with the fuse box and connecting directly that way. Plus it just looks a lot cleaner this way. So anyway, that's kind of a quick overview of this system here, and see how this works. So again, guys, that's the Wolfbox G900 TriPro.